Deborah was scheduled to present earlier last week, but she is the most elusive student that I have ever taught in my life. Asked me sometime about how she escaped from the AP exam without me knowing. I still don't know how she did that. Anyway, this young lady is hard to catch. I don't know if it's because she's shy or what, but she's managed to create a heck of an audience for herself. So I really appreciate those of you who are here to hear Deborah read this.
The Dominican Republic lacks powerful leaders who invest in long-run effects, issues bonds so a larger percent of the population can own homes at a cheaper rate, and has a fast-growing economy with low interest rates and low tax revenue. To prevent Dominican citizens and other Latin American countries from being affected by a financial crisis, we must take action now. The government must issue bonds for capital investment instead of personal spending. Dominican citizens must invest their money back into the economy to generate more jobs and decrease poverty. If capital is reinserted into the Dominican economy with the purpose of maximizing short-term and long-term profits, then new jobs will be generated and interest rates will increase along with tax revenue. In the long run, the national debt will decrease. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Deborah Bermudez. Today, I will talk to you about the possibilities of experiencing an economic crash in the Dominican Republic. The title of my senior oral defense essay is Ellos creen que dinero crece de las matas, and they think money grows on trees. Debt in the Dominican Republic. The Dominican Republic lacks powerful leaders who aren't driven by fraud and short-sightedness. As the American screenwriter Adam McKay emphasizes, corruption has always led to economic disaster. We live in an era of fraud in America, not just in banking, but in government, education, religion, food, and even baseball. What bothers me isn't that fraud is not nice, or that fraud is mean. For 15,000 years, fraud and short-sighted thinking have never ever worked, not once. Eventually you get caught, things go south. When the hell did we forget all that? I thought we were better than this, I really did. In other words, McKay affirmed that fraud and short-sightedness will always lead to disaster in any government or market of the world. In the Dominican Republic, our leaders do not invest in long-run effects. They are blinded by short-term profit. In the Dominican economy, a larger percent of the total circulating capital in the economy comes from the government, directly and indirectly. However, since the presidential term is from 4 to 8 years maximum, presidential parties take out large, long-term loans, leaving them for the next presidential party to pay. Between 2005 and 2011, the national debt went from US $11,700 to US $23,700, more than doubled, as said Ernesto Cedillo. If our leaders continue to run a country with this mentality and not stopped, there will be no country to run. In Bill George's view, describing the United States 2008 financial crisis, he says, financial firms engaged in a mad rush to justify high fees for managing clients' money by producing outsized short-term returns. This caused many leaders to lose sight of the importance of protecting their clients' long-term investment and their financial security. In the scramble to make money for themselves, the failed firms underpriced risk and relied on excessive leverage in excess of 35 times as much as debt as equity. Here, Bill George confirms the work of Adam McKay, who suggests that disaster isn't driven by fraud and short-sightedness, both apparent in almost all sectors of the Dominican Republic, especially among government officials. The Dominican national debt is incrementing by larger amounts than our fiscal revenue, making it impossible for government to pay off the debts. Such short-sighted thinking fostered the 2008 crisis in the United States and is not far from fostering the Dominican crisis. The Dominican Republic has a fast-growing economy, yet rate of poverty fails to decrease. As stated by the World Bank, for the past 2 decades, the Dominican Republic, DR, has been one of the fastest growing economies in Latin America and Caribbean region, with GDP growth averaging around 5.4% annually between 1992 and 2014. Despite this exceptional performance, poverty remains higher today than in 2000. In this graphic, you can see the red line is the Dominican Republic economic growth, and the gray line is the Latin American and Caribbean economic growth. The Dominican Republic economic growth vastly exceeds those of other Latin American countries. Such rapid increase in capital drives up the price of commodities. Among these commodities, we should include food, and inflates housing prices and emerging market stocks. This, in turn, will widen the gap between the poor and the wealthy. A rise in prices makes it harder for low-income people to purchase necessity goods, decreasing their standard of living. Therefore, this incentivizes both public and private loans by consumers who are unwilling to pay back. Out of all loans in the private sector of the Dominican Republic, 26.1% goes to personal consumption, clothes, cars, foods. Here you can see that 713,800 pesos were lent in June 2015. And all of these, of all the money loans, the maximum was consumption. And out of the Dominican labor force, more than 63% earn less than minimum wage, which is 11,292 Dominican pesos, or 256 US dollars. The Dominican Republic has the lowest minimum wage in Latin America, excluding Mexico, making it difficult for its citizens to fund a living, nevertheless pay loans back. If our GDP continues to increase at 5.4% annually, the amount of loans taken out by unqualified citizens will continue to increase and lead us to the verge of an economic crash. Low interest rates in the Dominican Republic incentivizes investment, which could result in the depreciation of the peso. As published in the Dominican newspaper Listín Diario, el ministro de Hacienda informó esta tarde que el gobierno de la República Dominicana colocó bonos soberanos por un monto total de $1 millón en el mercado global de capitales. In other words, the Dominican government recently took a $1 million loan in bonds with a plan to pay them back in 10 years at 6.875% interest rate. In 2008, something similar happened in the United States. Investors sought out these securitized products because they appear to be relatively safe, while providing higher returns in a world of low interest rates, as stated in The Economist, the renowned magazine. These new bonds set up by Dominican government have been very attractive to consumers in both private and public sector. Low interest rates are set by banks and market forces in order to increase the demand of loans. However, in a developing nation, not many people have the resources to pay back their loans, including the government. The Dominican government's fiscal return is much less than its public expenses, causing the government to assume larger public debts to fund the fiscal deficit generated. Moreover, as seen in the past, the government tends to print larger quantities of pesos in order to pay for these debts without thinking of the long-term effect. Printing larger amounts of pesos will result in a devaluation of the currency, making it harder for the government to take out loans in the future. A devaluation of the currency decreases the country's credit score. As said by the Dominican economist Ernesto Selma, se mantendría un nivel de gasto público que no se corresponde con finanzas públicas sanas. Esto podría dificultar hacer frente a los compromisos financieros en el futuro, si los inversionistas pierden confianza en el sistema político y económico de la República Dominicana. In other words, if we do not pay the debts back, this will make us lose trust with future investors in the Dominican Republic. Continuing to have expenses larger than our revenue can and will cost us the trust of our future investors. The government of the Dominican Republic aspires to sell and produce homes at a cheaper rate in order to incentivize a larger percent of the population to join the market and own homes. The Dominican newspaper Listing Diario said, el proyecto que autoriza al Poder Ejecutivo a través del Ministerio de Hacienda a realizar la emisión de bonos y colocación de valores de deuda pública, bonos, por hasta un máximo de 114.500 millones RD, fue sometido por el Ejecutivo junto al Presupuesto General del Estado. The newspaper comments on a project that authorizes the executive powers through Treasury to issue bonds for up to 114,500 million RD pesos in order to fund the national budget. In fact, the same article later states, promotores de vivienda, Acrópolis, Héctor Bretón, quien consideró que la agilización de los bonos habitacionales o bonos ITEVIS estimulará la construcción de viviendas y facilitará el acceso a estas a la familia de bajos ingresos. In other words, these bonds will help stimulate the economy, especially the housing market, which will in turn make houses accessible to low-income families. Another Listing Diario article agrees when it says, la última demostración de este compromiso es el decreto 389-15, emitido por el presidente Danilo Medina, donde declara el 2016 como año del fomento de la vivienda. Agregado a esto, existe la implementación de los bonos habitacionales para la adquisición de viviendas económicas. The President of the Dominican Republic, Danilo Medina, has suggested focusing on creating cheaper housing for its citizens in 2016, parallel to the United States 2008 economic crash. As McKay said, the whole housing market is propped upon these bad loans. It's a time bomb. In order to prevent an economic crash, capital, including for the purchase of homes, should only be loaned out to people who have the ability of paying these debts back in the given time. This was a major issue back in 2008 in the United States. Director of The Big Short film, McKay, agrees when he says, in Bakersfield, California, a Mexican strawberry picker with an income of $14,000 US and no English was lent every penny he needed to buy a house for $724,000 US. How is that believable? The renowned magazine, The Economist, also acknowledged the issue when the article author stated, loans were doled out to subprime borrowers with poor credit histories who struggled to repay them. These risky mortgages were passed on to financial engineers at the big banks, who turned them into supposedly low-risk securities by putting large numbers of them together in pools. Unqualified people with low credit scores were given out loans to purchase houses. Yet, the majority of these people were not able to pay their mortgages back, mortgages that were sold as safe securities by big financial banks. Therefore, the selling of big loans to unqualified, low-income Dominican citizens puts the Dominican Republic economy at high risk. The majority of in-debt citizens will not be able to pay their loans back with their current economic standing. This locates the Dominican Republic economy at high risk. Nevertheless, if we stop unrealistically loaning out large amounts of money to those who are unqualified, then we can prevent an economic crash from happening in the Dominican Republic. In order to prevent an economic crash from happening, credited money must be reinserted into the economy for capital investment. According to the World Bank, household consumption is 72.4% in the Dominican Republic. Government consumption, 10.9%. Investment in fixed capital, 20.6%. Investment in inventories, 1%. Export of goods and services, 25.7%. Import of goods and services, negative 30.6%. Based on the data above, the Dominican Republic household consumption vastly exceeds all of its investments. However, in order to expand the Dominican economy, investments in fixed capital and inventories must increase. This in turn would generate more jobs, decrease poverty, and increase profits, enlarging capital inflow. An increase in capital inflow would stimulate the economy, allowing for the funding of government budgets in the absence of loans. In order to move away from an economic crash and towards prosperity, the Dominican Republic must take action soon. The country needs leaders who are devoted to the well-being of the nation, both in the short term and long term. Bill George, reporter of the U.S. News, agrees when he says, "These new leaders must be committed to shifting away from short-termism to focus on long-term results. With leaders focused on long-term success and capital being reinserted into the economy, the Dominican Republic will prosper within no time. New jobs will be generated, interest rate will increase, tax revenue will increase, and the national debt will decrease." Thank you for listening.
Una maestra en ceremonia. ¿Existe el curso?
Semester, ceremony.
Sí, pero ¿qué es el problema con las picturas aquí?
With the pictures,
Sí,
I don't know, I put it in a PowerPoint format, but when I click next, it like scrolls down instead of going in slides.
yeah. Are you in presentation mode? Because there's a presentation, there's a mode you make it in, and then there's a presentation mode. And I think you might be in your practice mode rather than the presentation mode. Did you switch it?
We were trying to find it, but we didn't find it.
Yeah, it's an interesting image there, the Zeppelin.
Which one? This one? Yes, it says, "Are you just gonna sit back and enjoy the flames?" And it represents the economy. I open the floor to questions.
So right now we're currently going through election season. How do you think the people should, or not the people, but the government should, I don't know, educate the people regarding the economy? Like, what's the first steps in order for us to improve on the economic situation that we have in the Dominican Republic?
First, I think that instead of addressing our education towards the citizens, we should first address it towards the government, who are the ones who take the biggest loans in this country and are the ones who incentivize other citizens to take loans. If we direct our problem towards the government and economists like Ernesto Selman is a Dominican economist who I really agree with what he investigates. If he talks with the government and helps them, not helps them, but give them tips on how to finance their budget instead of relying on loans, then I think we could succeed in the long term.
Can you go back to the slide where you showed who was taking out loans?
This one.
Yeah, so okay, so you're saying in the private sector, individuals get loans. What does that mean, consumers, consumption? Do you mean consumers?
No, consumption, like household consumption. It's like taking out loans to buy food or car or clothing,
Okay,
but luxuries.
okay, and so how much of the total amount of money loaned in the Dominican Republic is loaned to the private sector versus how much is loaned to the government? Because these numbers are pretty high.
Yes, because governments,
But they
government,
don't total 100. So,
all of this is the private sector.
okay, but that doesn't equal 100% there.
Maybe money is, there's deadweight loss, in our economy, if supply and demand don't hit perfectly and there are shifts in the supply and demand, then there's a percentage of the money lost to society, which no one gets.
Okay,
So
but
probably
this says right here, amount of loans to the private sector sorted by how the loans are used, right?
Yes.
Okay, and we have 26 point, I'm bad with numbers, so
Yeah,
I'll answer 26.3 plus 18 plus 17. We're looking at 40, 50, and then looks like you got 66, 4, 3, 3, we're at 70, are we up to 80 yet? Is it 100%?
I don't think it's 100 exactly, because I think there's money lost to society or not accounted for.
But it's not that the rest of it is what's loaned to the government.
You know, like this chart only shows like what's known to the people. Because the government, like recently, they developed a stock market here in the Dominican Republic. And what they do is that they, instead of taking out loans from, let's say, like telling the US, like I want to take a loan to pay for this, this, and this, they're taking a loan on their own people, like on their own citizens, which is bonds. They're like selling government bonds in the stock market, and then these consumers are buying it. But the problem is that these bonds, the government doesn't have the funds to pay them. So consumers buy them with expectation of getting the money back with the interest rate and the time given, but they won't be able to pay it back, which will in turn negatively affect the economy even more, because then the money won't have any, like, from where will they take the money next time?
So why are the banks lending to people who don't have the means to repay?
Because the money earns a profit when they loan out money. And
How so if the people don't repay?
because they don't repay the entire amount. But like if you, let's say you take a loan,
Okay,
you are paying like interest rates in the money that you loaned out, and then that's a profit for the banks. And a lot of people are taking out loans, that means there's a high demand for loans. So people will want to put their money in the banks.
okay,
When citizens put their money in the bank, banks loan out that money, and that, like, the bank is able to like do whatever they want with that money. Or not whatever, if they have it back on the given time.
okay. But you're saying that the banks don't have a guarantee that they'll have it back on a given time?
They have a guarantee, but they just are not successful with fulfilling it. Like a lot of banks in the history of the Dominican economy have closed because of that.
Okay, so people borrow, but they don't repay.
Especially in the government.
Wait, but I want to keep the people and the government separate, because you hardly talked at all in your presentation about the government. Right?
Because,
Unless I missed it.
well, I talked a little bit, but I focused it more on like the
Yeah.
people, because the people are the ones who are taking that money out, like who are giving that money to the government.
Yeah,
with
and
this funds.
What you're showing here is that people need money just to live.
Yes.
I mean, these things up here, even though it's a little hard to read your slide for old people, electricity, gas, and water is 1.2 only. Then there's construction. Then there's like acquisition de viviendas.
That's
houses.
house, it's like buying a
And
house.
then estamos de, so this is talking about buying like groceries,
Yeah.
like sheets for your
It's,
bed.
and it's like basic needs to live, because the minimum wage is so little that they don't have enough. So they have to take out these loans.
So an individual person's debt is just growing and growing and growing and growing, and they're paying a little bit back to the credit card company every month.
So it's gonna get to a point that if it just keeps on growing, it's gonna crash. We're gonna have an economic crisis.
So what's another solution is that we should address in order for this to not occur?
The first thing, we should raise minimum wage. I know that's tough because a lot of people don't agree, and a lot of people manufacture in this country due to such a low wage. But if we address minimum wage, then people won't have the necessity to take out these big loans in order to pay for basic needs. Then we should also, a lot of people take out loans, and not just people, a lot of like wealthy people take out loans to buy luxuries. I believe that instead of giving those loans out to buy luxuries, if we reinsert it into the economy and invested, those loans will, like, the money reinserted will grow and will have profits, which expands the economy.
How do you reinsert it though? Don't we reinsert it by giving it to people to pay for goods?
That's a way, because that's money circulating in the economy and it's exchanging, so yes. But you can also reinsert it by, let's say, educating the people, educating your citizens, so they have a higher education and can do more rigorous and challenging businesses. Or you can reinsert it by simply building a factory or.
So rather than giving loans for luxury items, you would give loans for education.
Or
Okay.
anything other that will bring you like a benefit other than.
Now I understand. Yeah, those are important. And those are important ideas to put into the revision of your paper, okay? So when you pick up your paper from me before you go, then listen to this transcript and think about what you said in the question answer session that you're not saying on